And welcome back, everybody. This is HorsePLAY, and we are here. Welcome, geeks and gamers, to HorsePLAY Live. Today is May 21st. You thought I was going to mess that up, didn't you, Yogi? 2014, and that is confirmed. Episode 21, keeping it simple. And then actually, I had to ask about this title. Keeping it simple, stupid. We're not calling anybody stupid. I think he's calling me stupid, but I haven't confirmed that yet. But, as well, joined with us today, by me, as always, every week, my co-host and partner in crime, Yogi Zilla. What's going on, big man?
What's up?
Dude, on the stream right now, I look like I'm a ghost. Because it's like white light, like beaming down on my dome.
And again, that's why when I drew the cartoon version of you, you look like a Simpsons character. You're officially our Casper. You're our favorite cracker.
Wow. Joined with us today from the Gaming History 101 and the B Team podcast, Mr. Fred Rojas. How you doing, Mr. Rojas?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely. Yogi was talking to me, and a lot of what I've been listening to the show since its beginning, but near and dear to my heart. Any of the topics that are going to be brought up today, it looks like.
Definitely, and I can't wait. Now we do want to. We're just going to get right into this, guys. We are going to get right into the big horse. Just a big horse playing around. We're getting into what we do the best. You guys can tweet us throughout the show. I totally spaced out. You guys can tweet us throughout the show on Twitter, right here, Obi1X2, at YogiZilla, and right here, Mr. Rojas at Spider Venom. That's with a D.
Spider's Venom, yeah.
Y, not an I. It's Spider Venom. And you guys can hit us up on Twitter. And don't forget, voicemails, guys. We need voicemails. 206-415-4987. One more time, 206-415-4987. Now, if you guys are new to HorsePLAY, we are live every Thursday at 11 p.m. And I'm going to say it this way, the right way, EDT, because it's Daylight Savings Time, of course, on Twitch channels, Obi1X2 and YogiZilla every week. We're here no matter what. We do want some live chats. And, Yogi, you think it's safe to say that we have those live chats every week live here? As in, sometimes destructive?
We've been having some pretty wild parties in the chat. That's all I'm going to say. If you guys haven't been tuning in, and this is the first time joining us live or whatever, just to get ready. When you come for the live show, expect all sorts of stuff, including talk about animals in inappropriate ways. We neither support or encourage this in any way, but it's funny.
I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
I'm just saying.
Dog on interspecies erotica? Seriously?
Yeah,
exactly.
Dude. Oh, hey, no. Earlier this week, okay, as I'm looking, because you guys, Yogi knows. Well, Spider, I go around every week and look at different streams and streamers and kind of get a couple that really, that really entertain me and kind of give them a shout out on the show. Well, I'm going up to here, and all of a sudden, my wife's best friend is sitting right next to me. She goes, "What are you doing? Looking at dog porn?" What? Where did dog porn come in out of this? And I'm looking at a stream of somebody playing FIFA, 2014. And
I can totally see how she'd make that mistake.
What are you looking at? Dog porn? I'm like, wait, hold on.
Wait, I thought that was dog shit.
Oh.
No, I like
punch
FIFA
in
games.
The face, dude.
I like FIFA games. I'm just kidding. I had to be a hipster for a second.
Hey, Willis. Mr. Stan Faryna is here in chat. McMuffin132. What's going on, guys? But we do want to make sure that you guys do know HorsePLAY coming soon to our new Geeky Antics channel. Well, I totally screwed that up. Anyway, HorsePLAY replays. If you guys do miss the live show, it's okay. We have replays all over the place, and especially on allgames.com. We want to thank those guys right straight up just for doing what they do for us. You guys can check out that replay on Thursdays right before. Okay, you guys got to help me get this straight. It's Thursdays at 5 p.m. Okay, and that's currently opening for B Team Podcast at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Correct?
Well, 9
We're at
p.m.
9.
Or at 9.
Yeah.
All
This
right.
is, but we were supposed to be in the 7 p.m. slot, but the founder of All Games is coming back, and he's taking the prime time slot at 7 p.m. right before the B team.
Oh, of course. But then
So we'll be opening up for him and the B team. So that's cool. We'll be the warm-up act for both of you guys.
exactly.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So then this is the good thing about it. So then really they're all warming up for us because now then we're live again Thursday night at 11 p.m.
Dude, it comes around full circle.
It's a full
I didn't think
circle,
about
you
it like
guys.
that.
Check
Holy
that out starting at 5 o'clock on
Holy shit.
Thursdays. 5 o'clock on Thursdays. I don't know the exact name. Yes, Yogi's mind has been blown. I
never
know,
thought about it like that, dude.
I don't
That's
know
amazing.
exactly what the name of the show is going to be called, but like I said, start at 5 o'clock on Thursdays. You guys listen to HorsePLAY, this HorsePLAY right here, and then you guys can check out the new show that's going to happen, and then B Team Podcast, and then you can jump on to one of our live channels and listen to HorsePLAY again, the following show, live, and be a part of it. So we do love to do stuff just for everything, and we love the interaction. We love the people in our chats and wanting to talk. Currently, we are also hanging out allgames.com chat. You guys can go and just go into Google and hit allgames.com and hit chat. It'll bring you right to it. It's really that easy. And you guys just go ahead and chat with us, and we'll hit you up. Let us know. Let the gang know that HorsePLAY sent you. And, of course, they're going to, if you're nice, they're nice. You're mean, you don't want to see them mean. Sorry. I've been on All Games a couple months now, and I've seen somebody mean at somebody, and it wasn't very nice. It was justified, I guarantee it. But again, like I said, don't forget to tweet us throughout the show and throughout the week, guys. We're doing extra stuff. If anybody was around earlier, we'll get to that in a minute. Don't forget to tweet us, Obi1X2, at YogiZilla, and at Geeky Antics, our network, which is the geekyantics.net.com. Either which one you use, it still works. Last but not least, don't forget to check out, again, the geekyantics.net. That is our HQ. That is our official hub. Everything and anything that goes on with comments, sharing, parties, anything that we want to do. If we're going to do playthroughs, we want to invite those players and those followers that follow HorsePLAY, myself, Obi1X2, and YogiZilla. So we want to make sure that we can do those. And, of course, again, if you guys want to leave us a voicemail, any interesting topics that we're going to be planning out, we're going to be making sure that you guys actually get to read those topics to where you guys can call in a voicemail, 206-415-4987, to leave us a voicemail so that we can answer that question on the topic that we're talking on right on HorsePLAY Live. So we can't wait for that. Yogi, got anything going right now? I done lost my spot, so I'll just let you keep going.
Oh yeah, I wanted to add that if you're shy, you don't like your voice, I'm gonna let everyone in on something. I don't think anyone likes the way their voice sounds when they listen to themselves. It's something you get used to.
I do.
I mean, like, I listen to other people.
I like the way my voice sounds.
It sounds sexy.
Well, Fred, you're Fred. I mean, you and Sean have some of the most epic voices. After maybe what's his name? The voice of Lee Everett, Dave Fennoy.
Dave Fennoy. I gotta also give it up to Chris on the B team. He won the All Games sexiest voice, or the person most likely, or you want most to tell your life story. So he's got a good one too. But yeah, I don't know. I've always liked my own voice. I don't know.
I love listening to myself talk. I don't care.
There you go.
So
see?
my addendum to that, is gonna be that there are, for the general populace, people do not like the way the voice sounds unless you're very confident. You're a confident guy, not in a bad way, Fred.
No, I don't know. I'm fearless to the end.
Now, Obi, he's a pompous asshole, but we love him.
Some of those are the best.
You know you want some, little guy. You want a popsicle? Yes, please.
So yeah, if you don't like the sound of your voice, you can leave the voicemail at 206-415-4987 or email us at mail@geekyantics.net. That's professional now. Check that out. Mail@geekyantics.net. We're not using the Gmail. We still have the Gmail. You can use either one. They actually both go to the same place. I'm not supposed to tell anybody that. It's a secret.
Nice.
What? Oh, and I'm really excited about the latest blog post. We got a bunch of stuff coming up this weekend on the site, but the latest post is one that I originally started. It was a series I started on professional gaming and gaming clan leadership and the drama and personality conflicts that arise thereof. And that series, I started it back in like 2006, and one of the original articles is still getting comments and hits every day. It's crazy. This is like apparently like one of the biggest things on gamers' minds. I get emails. People are like, "I'm having trouble with my clan. Can you help me with this?" And I'm like, "Wow, okay, cool." So we're gonna bring that over to Geeky Antics so everyone else could join the conversation. And I think it's gonna be something when we talk about on Horseplay as well, because obviously everyone has this on their mind. It's like, they don't know how to run a gaming clan. They think it's just, most people just think it's just throw on a tag, recruit some people, and then play games. And that's a big part of it. But if you want to be competitive or you want to, be sustainable, there's a lot of work involved to it. And the thing is, where do you draw the line? Because if it becomes too much work, you're not having fun with the games you're playing. So what's the point then? So check that stuff out. It's good stuff. And Obi, what are you doing, Obi?
I'm making the chat a little bit more lively. What are you doing, Yogi?
You warm me up the crowd. Oh, I should have known. My voice. Stan Faryna does have a very sexy voice as well, and he's got that mellow, like he's got kind of like this hippie, stoner kind of thing going on. When you listen to him talk, it's great. It would have been epic if we got Stan here with Fred and we could have a voice off. I got the stereotypical New Yorker, Puerto Rican accent, so I'm not very special. But down south, I'm special because you don't hear a lot of people talk like me. So
Talk
there you
like
go.
me. They all
That's
talk.
right.
They all talk like you, Yogi. You know what I'm saying? Y'all down there won't have a dip in y'all mouth and throw a gnaw in your mouth and then be pissed off because she left you and then took your dog with you too. And then on top of that, popped all the tires in your truck. What the hell?
You'd be surprised how many people in Kansas, where I'm from, talk like that.
Well,
Surprising number.
Kansas is kind of like one of those weird states where it's kind of like on the cusp, right?
Oh no, Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah,
You got some people. You got some people that identify with Confederacy and some people that identify with Union,
yes.
right? And
Well, we can't stop getting out of the news. We can't stop. We are always in the news for stupid things because basically, if it goes back to the foolish days of yore that no one in this country is proud of, Kansas probably passed a law about it.
How far? I'm terrible with geography. How far are you guys from the Mason-Dixon line?
What? The Mason-Dixon
Where-
line, the one that runs through like Oklahoma and like the north side of Texas and all that? I'm at the top by Canada, okay?
Yeah, you're way up there.
Here. I'm right here.
We're about 8 hours from said line. So
And he's not
We're far
meaning
enough.
south either. He's far enough north. He's a Yankee too.
Well, it's just funny when if you travel to different states, like there's people that are so far from the Mason-Dixon line, and you really can't consider them Southerners, but they still act like rednecks, or they
got whiskey tango here, like you wouldn't believe. White trash, that is.
Yeah, I got you. I'm tracking.
But I'm from Chicago, so none of this stuff
Oh,
applies to
God.
me. I'm the implant.
Please
so.
tell me you're not a Blackhawks fan.
I think we're all expats in this room,
Yeah,
quote
well,
unquote.
Blackhawks fan. No, I'm a Wolves fan. Actually,
Okay.
I like to watch real hockey. But
So why aren't we watching Toronto then? 'Cause that's real
Touche.
hockey, isn't it?
yeah, it is. But they're all too nice.
I think it should go back to the olden times to where they, when you hit somebody, you hit somebody. And I
Hell
think
yeah.
Yogi's typing to us right now to tell us to shut up. Because we need to
No.
keep going with the show.
No, I'm
NHL '94, baby. That's real hockey right there.
Oh man, that's
Sega Genesis.
yeah, dude. That was when you could still. Most of that game was just fighting, starting fights, and then like injuring the team's best players, so you had more of a chance. Oh, and the power plays. Yes.
The power plays and the blood on the ice. It was a fantastic game.
Oh,
I don't even think you really got down to much hockey, but it was a fantastic game.
Could we call that a retro game? Just be, kinda?
absolutely.
Absolutely.
It fits.
Because like
Believe
I
it or
remember
not,
playing. I remember playing, and I'm sorry, Fred. I remember playing Sega Genesis. Okay. And then I had a stack of the discs. They're about that big, and I had a stack of them. And then the first one always on top was Madden.
Yes.
Okay, and then you had those little guys that run around, and you think they're doing spin moves and jukes, and it's just computer going.
Yep.
And then it started getting better, and PlayStation come out, and I'm like, screw you, Sega. I still got it.
Yeah,
I still got
definitely.
my
Although
Atari.
well, there you go. EA definitely got its stride with Genesis, though. If you remember, they had the old cartridges with the yellow tabs and stuff.
Yep.
Mhm.
That was the trademark.
So that's definitely where they got their start. And little fun fact, actually, the Madden team was supposed to be making their own football game for Sega after Sega's internal team screwed up and ended up making basically a better game than Madden 94 with Joe Montana football.
Yeah, they were
and
pissed.
that's why. Yeah, that's why Joe Montana football is secretly Madden 95. But yeah, that's one of the, and you never saw another one.
I know, isn't that funny?
Yeah. So
Well,
you can skip Madden 95 and just play Joe Montana football.
Well, and I actually heard that the game that they messed up on, or the game that the other ones made better, they were thankful for it, but they got sued, or they lost some kind of money in a sue of because they took their ID and actually made the game without their consent or some shit like that.
Well, yeah, and there was some weird stuff with Montana as well. Like he kept claiming he didn't approve that stuff. Kind of like it was kind of odd. It was kind of like when Courtney Love claimed that she didn't give permission for Kurt Cobain to be in Guitar Hero, and then like Activision didn't even respond with a message. They just posted a picture of her signed contract.
Yeah, it was funny. Try to get over on him and be like, ma'am, if you look on this picture right here that we're sending you, this name right there, that's yours.
Just because you signed it on drugs doesn't mean it didn't count.
Yes, well, I think a lawyer could get her out of that if you really wanted to.
Yeah, that's probably a good point.
I was stoned, Your Honor, and I don't know what I was doing. I was on 3 days worth of coke, 3 8-balls a day, and I was drinking pretty heavily. I don't remember signing that. Okay, well, you were not in your right mind when you signed that contract. It's not legal. Okay.
Yeah, and she's got enough money to actually prove that.
And yeah, she does.
I distracted Obi. I'm sorry.
No, you were just popping in chat. But tonight on the show, guys, as you guys can see, we're just engaging in chat. Yogi's off there on the side, just kind of being a bummer and kind of not doing anything. We are going to continue our Retro Friday, #Retro Friday series, and get back to the basics, guys. Simple. We want to keep it simple. Highly replayable games that we all love. And we're talking about those right now, actually, with the Sega and with Madden, Joe Montana football, and stuff like that they actually had. Yes, it wasn't the best graphic games, but they were good games. And remember, retro games is not just for hipsters or pixel art fans. It's not just for that. I play retro games all the time, believe it or not. And I asked Yogi, and I was serious about this, because if you're not a person that talks about it and actually talks, retro game, you really don't know what it is. Okay, you don't really know what people classify as a retro game. Come to find out, damn near every one of my old games I have is a retro game. So guess what? I play retro games every day. Didn't even know that.
Yep.
But it's about what we want to do is just return to the core of gaming. We want to turn to the true essence of gaming and just having fun. Because really, and I'm sure Fred and Yogi will agree with me both, if you're not having fun in a game, why in the hell are you playing it? If you're just playing a game to buy all the best shit, why are you playing it? For one, I've already stated, you're not a real gamer if you're buying all the best shit to get to the top. I'm telling you that right now, and I will stick to that fact. But if you love playing retro games, this is what we're going to talk about tonight. That's why we got into gaming. I mean, that's why I got into gaming. Yogi, Fred, what do you guys think?
Well, I mean, for me, like, you know, my website, Gaming History 101, you know, the key phrase that you see when you load it up is know your roots. And I think that's kind of the key to it. And I think that's kind of where the happy medium lies, is you need to appreciate where gaming came from, even if you weren't there for it. And I think that's another big thing, is just, you know, I don't know when you got involved, Obi or Yogi, you know, everyone had their era, and it's pretty much based off of your age. But you know, I mean, I think it's important to, you know, kind of grasp to that nostalgia, and also kind of see what worked in the past as you bring it forward to today. Because gaming trends are, you know, consistently in flux, but at the same time, what's addictive then is still addictive now. You know, people say the arcade's dead. I say it's just on your phones. You know, like, it just depends on how you look at it.
And I would say that the what's it called, the Super Arcade in California would say otherwise, because there's still a lot of huge arcades that have their own freaking like 24/7 Twitch streams and massive events. You know, and then there's things like ACAM, you know, where they're keeping the arcade going. But I'm not gonna go into that. But I do want to say, I'm gonna pimp this out for you, Fred, because the other night I think you were about to go I was about to go on a road trip, actually, and while I was packing, I decided to go on Twitch, and I saw you streaming, and I was like,
Oh yeah.
check this out, and you were playing Resident Evil 4.
Yep, and I was talking into a mic not knowing that it wasn't picking any of it up. I have since reconciled that.
Oh, did
Twitch
you see? Were you talking? Were you talking with me?
That whole time I was talking. I'm explaining the history of, like, because I'm at this part in Resident Evil 4 where Leon, I guess I could say this is spoilers, but I don't think it really is, where Leon bumps into Ada Wong for the first time, and the last time we've seen those two together was in Resident Evil 2. And so I'm explaining the history of Ada Wong and where she comes in and what she's all about, and then I go back and watch the stream, and it's just me playing and occasionally standing still, and I was like, oh shit. So yeah, that was a mistake, but anyway, no, I really like to be able to stream, and especially because, you know, you can keep them now. It makes it cool and easy, and I think Twitch, especially with you guys' show and then with gameplay, you know, it's a whole new world, you know.
Well, see, the fun thing about streaming the retro games is that you're part of a niche, and we've been kind of redefining with our Retro Friday series, hashtag Retro Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We've been kind of redefining what it means to play a retro game. Now, it's not just the classics, but there's also a certain kind of style and spirit to a retro game. Like the simplicity of it. You know, it might be accessible, but then it's really highly addictive. You know, I think it's a much bigger pool. Obviously, Resident Evil 4 would be considered retro because it's pretty old by now. But they keep remaking it, so it's like it's always a new release.
Yeah, it was the new PC version. Although I would like to point that out. A lot of people ask me on my show, I think it's the most common question I get, which is, well, I like this game. Is it retro? And so just to jump out first and foremost, you know, I'd like to let everyone know that I think retro is kind of a term that can be defined any way a person wants to define it. My good rule of thumb is 5 years. So basically anything 2009 or earlier is considered retro, but we are also in between generations, and typically they don't last as long as our last one did. So that's why you get this interesting world where, you know, some games like Metal Gear Solid 4 would be considered retro, but like Peace Walker is not,
right.
You know, but again, you could make an argument either way. So don't be hesitant to call it retro. Basically, if it's not, you know, nowadays, I think retro is anything that's like a week old, you know, because the whole world moves on so fast. You know, it's like, you know, like look at Thief. Thief only came out a couple months ago and it didn't get reviewed very well. It was very old school. Lots of people didn't like it, and they're totally justified in that opinion. I'm not even sure if I liked it. A jury's still out on me. But it's old news now. You could consider it retro. like if somebody really wanted to, you could see the argument for it. So So again, I think people shouldn't get too bogged down in the concept of retro. The real definition for me is something like Resident Evil 4. I'm playing through it right now. Last time I played through it was on the PS2 in 2006. And so when you go back to it and you start going, oh yeah, I remember this part, or oh, I forgot that there's a hedge maze with dogs that have tentacles that jump out at you. You know, when you start reliving those moments and stuff's new, some stuff's new and some stuff's completely forgotten to your memory, I think that's kind of the core essence of retro. And I'm learning again that Resident Evil 4 really is that good, and sadly Capcom has not been able to capture that magic since.
Well, actually, we're gonna cover any news today, but apparently Capcom is digging themselves out of the hole they were in, and they're kind of bouncing back. But still nothing on a new Mega Man. They have, it boggles my mind that they have so many great intellectual properties, and they're not doing stuff with them. Like, they're just letting them sit.
Well, they had to make what is it? Lost Planet 3. Remember that gem?
I forgot that even came out. Holy
I
man.
reviewed that.
See, those games are actually really neat. I thought Lost Planet 2 was great, and I love how they handled that with the whole free multiplayer before it came out, the demo for the multiplayer, and they kept it up for a while. And I think they handled that very well. But I honestly don't know what happened with Lost Planet 3. Was it really that bad?
3 was actually pretty good. It was kind of derivative, but what they did smart about it, I actually had a lot of fun with that game, and it's surprisingly long. I want to say it was 15, 20 hours. But it had no multiplayer component, and I think that's gutsy these days. And I'd like to see more people do it, but the reality is that going into a game these days without any sort of multiplayer component is seemingly disastrous. I also think that that game had that series right now, their biggest problem is that it has no identity. I mean, Lost Planet 2 is basically intended to be all co-op, so it's pretty much a solely multiplayer game. So to come back and make an only single-player game was a little weird. The other thing was it was mostly callbacks to the first game, which was great for people like me who played the first game, but I don't think a lot of people did, and I don't think they want to go back to it. So as a near-launch 360 game, I think it was a tough sell across the board. But if you guys see it on the cheap, especially on PC, might be worth it. I had a good time with it, and if you like garbage scale monsters with big glowy, weakness points, you're good, man. It was. I think it was better than Dead Space 3. I'll say that, and I kind of liked Dead Space 3.
Ooh, really? That's a bold statement, because contrary to most people, like a lot of people feel that Dead Space lost its way because the co-op made it less scary. And they said it doesn't have the same kind of survival horror feel. I disagree. It's still scary, even with the co-op partner. And Dead Space 3 did something that I love, which was introducing the crafting system, which that amplifies, that multiplies the replay value a shit ton, man. I love that part of it.
Yeah.
You can make all kinds of crazy guns with it. Like, you could put a force gun and then a long range gun together in one gun. And then when you get rushed and you're no longer in effective range, you're long range, you could just use the force gun to push everybody back. I mean, it's brilliant.
Yeah, no, there were some really cool concepts in Dead Space 3. I think the biggest problem that suffered from was they didn't quite know how to implement it. They didn't pace it well enough. And again, I know this I'm reminded of this when I play something like Resident Evil 4, where they just did the right amount of like releasing new stuff to you as you go. Cause there's like a gold collection system and you purchase items and upgrade your weapons and stuff like that. And they did it in just the right way. And I don't know how they quite calculated that balance because they haven't been able to do it since. But having said that, Dead Space 3 got bogged down in a little bit of, I think they almost intended you to grind to make the combinations you really wanted to make, which I was fine with. But didn't you feel that game was a little long in the tooth? I think that was its downfall. It just kept going. And then the ending kind of it. But the DLC epilogue that was way overpriced totally made up for it. I just think it should have been integrated into the main game.
I that's my one gripe. I feel like that should have been part of the original purchase. And anything else they add as a DLC should have been like a backstory, a side story, something like that. Because they purposely left you on a cliffhanger moment, and then you're like, really? And it just when it really built up, it's like, all right, game over. What?
Yeah, you know, and again, as you say this, I start thinking about the fun I had with the original Dead Space and even Dead Space 2 to a certain extent, although they were both horror games that were different in their own regards. And I think that kind of gets back to the main theme, which is why go retro, or why are you interested in retro? I know a lot of people who say they only want new experiences and they don't want to replay a game twice. And for me, I find that very difficult, because for me, you start remembering the core key games that were influential in your life. And in many regards, at least for myself, I hang on to them unless I decide to get rid of the whole system, but I haven't had to do that yet in life. And for me, I love to revisit those things. You know, like I play something like BioShock Infinite, and it reminds me that I want to go back and replay BioShock. And we are, for Gaming History 101, our game club for August is BioShock. And I'll be replaying that. And I have it on Windows now, so I can stream it on Twitch. So I'll be playing through the whole thing on Twitch. And yeah. So I mean, to me, you know, I totally get it if you don't want to, but for a person like myself, when I play through something like Resident Evil 4, there's some solace in it that for the most part, I go back and play and I'm like, God, this is just as good as I remember. And so you know you're going to get a good experience, where these days it really is a crapshoot, and it doesn't always net as well as you'd like, and it invests a lot of time. I think the average game is getting to about 20 hours these days. That's a lot of time.
Yep.
You know, even action games are 20 hours. That's a freaking huge gap of time
That's
to
more
dedicate.
time than I really want to spend on just a
Yeah.
quick game. I'm sorry.
Well, it's not a quick game. That's the problem. It's a whole season of Buffy. Like,
Ooh, that puts it into perspective.
doesn't it?
You could get your Josh Whedon fix or play video games. But see, like, to be fair, man, this is what drives me crazy about Fred. He says so many good things. It's like, how do I even follow that up? Because one of the things you mentioned was, you know, kind of this whole notion, and Stan Faryna in the chat, we're going to try to bring him in. He touched upon this as well, is the game mechanics of yesteryear, you know, and the concepts, maybe the core mechanics you could say, may not be things that hold up well today. But let's be honest, everything we're seeing now is mostly regurgitated crap. And also on the flip side, just because it's different doesn't mean it's good. So there's a delicate balance, you know. Sometimes you want that fresh new experience, but only if it's fun. And when I think about a good retro game, a pure retro gaming experience, it's something that you could revisit years later, or something that has that retro spirit that is good in spite of its simplicity, or maybe because of its simplicity, it's that much better because you could jump right into it. It's a pick up and play kind of experience. But before we get deep into this, because this is gonna be our part of our formal feature discussion, you know, we're changing things up tonight. We're following the K.I.S.S principle, you know, keep it simple, stupid. So that's why we're not doing news, guys. But if you do want to check out news, we definitely recommend listening to the B Team podcast. They got a lot of great insight in all spaces of gaming, even tabletop gaming. And got to plug that again. And also check out our extended family over at the Gaming Death podcast, who's now part of GeekyAntics.net. Gaming Death, they have some great stuff there as well. But I think we should jump into the feature discussion soon here, Obi. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. We're actually getting Stan in the call right now. We're actually going to have him on. Before we do that, though, I do want to give a couple shout-outs. So you guys do know that I go real quick every week and check out some streams that I think, that are just really entertaining to me. First thing I want to say to everybody in chat, you guys are fucking awesome, okay? You guys are awesome. Just support from the few people that come every week and join our live show is just, I'm stoked, man. I'm so happy. We just want to thank you guys. Now, like I said, there's a couple gamers that I do want to check out. The first one I do want to check out is it on the screen right now. It's Twitch. It's Doc Row Games. He actually is in chat. You guys check him out. He plays all sorts of games, from League of Legends on EU to a bunch of Blizzard games. I think he plays some Hearthstone. So you guys check him out. That's www.twitch.tv/DocRowGames. Go ahead and check him out real quick. We'll put that in whatever we got. There's your shout-outs. That's all I wanted, man. I had to do it. I told him I would do it, and I had to give him a quick shout-out real quick just because he's my boy. He's been with me since I started gaming, man.
Well, and actually, if you guys don't mind, can I hijack your show for about 30 seconds?
Definitely.
I have a
Go for
special
it.
announcement that I made on our show, but I wanted to make it here as well, and it kind of falls into the news concept. I'm actually starting a new project with a former co-host. It's the guy I started podcasting with way back in 2005 when I did my first podcast, Video Game Purists. His name is Hefe, and he goes by Hef, like Hugh Hefner. And yeah, and he's really big on gaming trends and like market business analysis. He's a business analyst, so of course he's big on that. And we've always been wanting a place to kind of talk about that, and especially with E3 coming up and Nintendo and a lot of financials are coming out right now. It's a good time to get into the game of that. And so we've got our show. Our show is going to be called Pixelated Pints. And I've got the whole gamut, so it's easy to find. You can go to pixelatedpints.com. Right now, you're going to find it just a pretty blank website. The Twitter is Pixelated Pints. The Facebook's Pixelated Pints. The Google's Pixelated Pints. The email's Pixelated Pints at Gmail. I made it real easy. And we're going to be starting that show Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to do a Google Hangouts. So if you go to youtube.com/Pixelated Pints, you will find it there. We'll be doing discussions and things like that. So you will get to see my ugly ass mug on camera. And we're going to be talking about lots of industry stuff, but mostly, we decided we would just take 90 minutes and talk about what we think is important. And one thing I definitely wanted to talk about was the business strategies of Destiny and a lot of the information and leaks that have come from that, especially some of the more important budgetary stuff that came out. And we'll also be talking about various other things, such as I always get lots of press releases about interesting games that are coming out, and May has some very interesting games on the indie PC gaming front. And I know that's a niche audience, but anyway, we'll be talking about everything big and small, but it's basically just for us to wax philosophical over a couple of beers on a Monday night. So if you're interested, my best recommendation is go to just follow the Twitter Pixelated Pints or at Pixelated Pints. If you see Mario and Donkey Kong sharing a cold brew together on the image logo, then you're at the right place. And again, you can check out the YouTube if you subscribe to us. We'll be doing our first cold run. It'll be my first time with Google Hangouts and with video, so bear with me, guys. And pixelatedpints.com is going to be the traditional podcast, the traditional audio podcast you can download, and of course we'll be on the YouTube or on the iTunes and all that fun stuff, and Stitcher and all that. So that's going to be a new project. We're starting every Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. So
He will
right after.
He will be on the YouTubes and the Twitters. Yeah. And he will be on the Stitchers to help you listen wherever you want to go. Thank you very much. Thank you. Come again. I don't know why
I also
did that,
squatted
anyway.
at the I squatted at the Facebook too, just for fun.
Oh, dude, nice.
You gotta, because there's so many brand hijackers out there. It's not even funny. We talked about this, Fred. And
Gaming History 101 got hijacked on both YouTube and Facebook, so I've had to do alternative methods. So yeah.
And I hate it because a lot of times those people that hijack YouTube channels and Facebook, which I think is gonna be more of a thing. It's gonna be a thing on Twitch too as they grow more and more, and people move away from older traditional forms of marketing their content. You know, it's gonna be like the old domain squatters. That's gonna be the bigger trend. People are gonna start hijacking those things and selling them. Anyway, I digress. But
yeah, and that's what we did with this. Like, people are like, "Oh, Pixelated Pints is pretty good." They're like, "But what about Pixels and Pints?" And I'm like, "You think we didn't think of that?" There were 38 names we had to go through and make sure the .com was clear, the Facebook, the YouTube, the Twitter, all that stuff. And it turns out that Pints and Pixels is actually a game dev studio. They haven't released anything yet, but I'm curious to see what they are gonna crank out. So but yeah, so we're gonna be getting that started. So
dude, you got me so stoked because that's a perfect fit for what we've been doing over here at Geeky Antics and on HorsePLAY Live. And we were talking about that. The new show we're gonna do is gonna be a little more on the serious side. I'm still debating. The one thing I'm unsure of now, we finally came up with a name. We're gonna probably go with bit by bit gaming instead of game mechanics 101. I did find a few game mechanics shows that are mostly dead on iTunes. There was like a couple of them. But we're going to have game mechanics in the tagline, of course, because that's going to be the main focus of it. But we're going to talk about a lot of the same things, like issues that gamers face, you know, our marketing and business breakdown analysis of everything, and talking about the, you know, core game mechanics, game theory, psychology of gaming. Dude, we could totally do some crossover work. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, most definitely. And again, like I said, it's going to be interesting because like on the B team, I'll be talking about, especially with E3 coming up, that's going to be our hard launch. We are literally going to launch hard, like, with an established site and everything, and start the really hardcore promoting the Monday of E3, right after the big pressers of Microsoft. And the big thing with that is, while I'll be on the B team talking about all the games I want to play, we're going to be on the flip side of this talking about like what does that mean, or what do the reveals mean to the industry, and what are the future is going to have to do. And again, it's not all business. We're definitely gamers, and we're going to talk about this as gamers. But at the same time, I've always had a fascination with like, people always think they know how, for example, to fix Nintendo. And a lot of people don't even think about the position they're in right now. It's not so simple as, my buddy was like, oh, I can fix Nintendo. Put freaking Mario Galaxy on Xbox One and you're done. Really? You really think that's going to save it? Like, and so...
Yeah.
So anyway, we're gonna look into that kind of stuff, and half the time it might just be as derivative as, dude, I played this cool new game, But it'll be a cool place to hopefully talk about things you're not hearing on every other podcast. And I have an aggressive theory that the traditional game review is dead, so we will specifically not be accepting any review copies. The other thing we're going to do as part of that network on the YouTube page is tons of gameplay footage. We're going to stream everything we play with commentary, and good, bad, or indifferent. It's just all going to be there in some big glut for you to enjoy. So if you want to see the ending of a game we're playing, cool, check it out. If you want to see what we thought in the first hour, cool, whatever. If you want to literally watch 12 hours of a full campaign, that's your business, and we're just going to just throw it all up on there. Who cares? So that's the goal for now.
Well, Yogi, we're still trying to get Fred in here. And we have a couple of actually viewers.
You mean Stan?
Yeah, Fred. We already have Fred in here. I'm looking at the name, sorry. We're trying to still get Stan in here, and we have a couple viewers that actually that one has been on the show before, and we're just gonna, see what happens. But we can actually start the feature, man. Let's get talking about that. And see how you guys, and I'll just continue to get him in the Skype call, and we'll just keep going. Let's rock it. I'm having fun. How about you guys? Chat, you guys having fun?
Definitely, and let's not forget, as we go through the Geeky Engage, we will take a couple of call-ins tonight, as long as we're making good on time. So far, we're good. Okay, we skip the news. That's usually where we go off on all kinds of tangents. But
right.
The voicemail hotline is probably the best way. 206-415-4987. And we're about to get into the feature discussion.
And
Obi?
Right. Well, we can just start it up. Guys, I do want to say, though, once we're on the show right now, we're actually talking to somebody. Don't continuously spam call us on Skype. That is the quickest way to get you kicked out of our friends list, because we do, come on. Be nice. If I don't answer you, it's for a reason, okay? Trust me. So, Mr. Stan...
Hey, can you hear me?
Stan the man, you gotta. We can hear you.
Stan, turn down your speaker so we don't get the crazy echo loop back.
Yeah, you might want to mute the stream.
Headphones, Stan. We've talked about this.
Feature of the moment, guys. Feature of the day. Memory lane. Beyond nostalgia. Let's talk about games that made us fall in love with gaming, guys. I mean, we're gonna go back old school. Brad, I know you know old school. Yogi, you're like 60 years old. You know old school. Stan, I see a midlife crisis card there, so you're like 60 or so. So I mean, you guys know old school. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. So let's hear. Exactly, dude. Asteroids on what, Atari, or actually arcade?
Exactly.
Okay, Yogi. I want to hear from you, and I'll get with everybody. Everybody's going to join in here, and we got a couple callers that I'm gonna add to the call here in a second. I want to get first initial impacts from you guys first. Yogi, I want to hear from you. Then Fred, you go ahead. Then Stan, you go after that. I want to hear from you guys and tell me what you guys miss about the old school. And this is what you miss about the old school stuff. Yogi?
I just First, I'm gonna preface what I'm about to say with I think if you're paying off the shelf rates, like a full retail priced game, like $65 or whatever it comes out to in your local economy, I want that long experience or high replay value to feel like I got the most out of my money. Story narrative is nice, but a lot of games suffer from narrative dissonance, and I'm not gonna get into that. That'll be for another discussion. But I on the flip side, there's something to be said about simple games that are pick up and play. You know, you could play them for long sessions or you could play them in quick bursts, and there's nothing wrong with either way. But you still feel like you got your money's worth because they're games that are memorable, that you have fun with, you can enjoy with friends, you know, and some of those games that come to mind. You guys might actually made me think about this one. Mutant League Football was one of my favorite football games on the Sega Genesis because it's like playing NHL, but I take it to a higher level. You could actually dismember people while you're playing football. What's there not to love about that?
If you don't love that,
League
you're
football's fantastic.
again, you're not a gamer.
Yeah, dismemberment is great. It was Dead Space before Dead Space was a thing.
Yeah.
Even better. Like, yeah, that's a fantastic franchise.
Yeah, but they killed that off a while back, right? Like
They're always talking about bringing it back. Blood Brawl, I thought was going to be a recurrence of that, but it wasn't. Yeah. I mean, you've got Mutant League Football and Mutant League Hockey, and that's it. And those were both Genesis gems.
Yep. I'm surprised there hasn't been a Kickstarter for that yet. And that's another thing we'll talk about too. Some of the spiritual successors, not just the official remakes, but there's a lot of spiritual successors coming out now, thanks to the indie market and different ways of crowdfunding, whether it's Indiegogo, Kickstarter. I mean, there's so many ways, Patreon. There's so many ways to fund projects now. I think it's an exciting time, especially if you're not holding your breath for the big studios to save gaming right now. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, who brought up Mega Man? Was that you, Yogi?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a perfect example. Mega Man is coming, and I think we're seeing Capcom wait for Mighty Number 9, which is Keiji Inafune, who created Mega Man. I've heard nothing but fantastic things about that production from those who have played it already, parts of it. And you watch if that's a fantastic success. Which the Kickstarter already was, but here's hoping that the mainstream will jump onto it. If that is a success, you watch Capcom bring back Mega Man. It'll happen in a heartbeat. Yep.
It's got to light the fire under that. I don't understand. I was going to say this real quick when I brought it up again. They were going down a really great path, keeping the Mega Man experience fresh, but still having some of the tropes that we've come to love. The sense of progression and, you know, that sense of, well, I can't get past this part yet. You know, that Metrovania kind of thing where it's like, I can't get past this part because I don't have the thing I really need here yet. But I'll come back to this, you know? And that's one of the kind of staples of the Mega Man series. But they did the things like the Battle Network, which added a tactical layer to it. And I thought that was great. And I was like, man, I'd love to see more of this Mega Man universe expansion. It upsets me. But But as far as like all-time favorite games, like some of the ones that come to mind, I'm trying to keep it short. So I know we're all gonna do a little roundtable discussion here. But Herzog Zwei, which you guys have heard me mention before, and I have on YouTube and on Twitch. I streamed that for Retro Friday, and I think this game has inspired a lot of games that we know today, including MOBA games. Blizzard admitted that it inspired StarCraft and Warcraft. Yet it's still a game that I feel a lot of gamers won't even bother to look at. They won't know their roots because they're like, oh, look at those graphics. They're terrible. But the gameplay still holds up today. It's still a fun game today.
Absolutely.
Panzer Dragoon Saga, one of my favorite games of all time. I love that
I've
game.
never played that game.
Oh,
it's so rare.
Dude,
it's so rare.
I feel bad. If I still had my copy.
Oh, you don't have to feel bad. I'm, you know, and again, if you guys want to know my take on emulation, I did a Gaming History 101 about it. It was called Breaking the Law. Enjoy that. It's early in the feed. But no, I have a modded Saturn. It's one of those games where I feel justified. I can play that. I just need to sit down and do it.
Yeah. Emulating Sega Saturn is pretty tricky.
I'm not emulating it. No, I just have burned the ISOs and they'll play on my Saturn.
Yeah.
So it's not emulation. It's on the hardware. So
yeah.
I got that going for me. And again, I've tried. I've never been able to find like in a good enough condition that I like all 4 discs, and I think that's the hardest part, right? They released 25,000 in this country, and out of that, it's a 4-disc game, and there's like that like cuts the number of successful playable copies to a fraction. If you go on eBay right now, everyone's selling like it's got like disc 1 and 2, or disc 3 is missing, or disc 1 is missing, and it's ridiculous. So,
Dude, mine was mint, and the only reason I got rid of my Saturn and all the games was because I was hoarding, and I felt dirty. I was really getting, I was starting to feel like with the people on hoarders, and I was starting to, lose grace with family and friends. I was like, all right, I need to make a change, and they intervened. They're like, okay, if it's gonna be a console, I'll give up. Is this one? But I'm keeping my Atari 2600. I'm keeping my Sega Genesis. Damn it, I'm keeping my NES. I'm keeping all these other ones. I'll get rid of the Saturn.
you fought for the 2600 over the Saturn? That's where you and I are going to differ.
Nostalgia. It's just
I know.
the thing is, I went through at least 5 different Atari 2600s, and that one was the one that survived over all the years. So I just can't get rid of it. I'm too much of a sentimentalist. Sega Saturn by far is still one of my favorite systems of all time. It was a hard choice. I don't even. I was under the gun, dude. That's all I can say.
It's all a hard choice. When I got rid of, and this is the one I chose Atari over my, I believe it was my first Nintendo is what I had a choice over. Either get rid of the Nintendo because it's a piece of crap, or get rid of the Atari because it's a piece of crap. You could only keep one, so I'll keep the Atari. Yeah, I still got 300 about 300 games, or about almost as many games as they made for it, but.
Nice.
Oh, man. And they're all... Anyway. Stan. I got to get all the names right because now I have like 5 people in the call. Stan. Let's give you... What do you miss? Memory lane.
Memory lane. I don't know. My
That's a
gaming
good one.
experience. Yeah, my gaming experience is like fits and leaps. Starting off from the Atari Asteroids, and then there's the Pac-Man and Galaga. And then I didn't play for such a long time until like college, and then there was Leisure Suit Larry and Strategic Conquest and Civ.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, yes.
and then I was an entrepreneur and I couldn't play games and for a while, and then finally I like got into the MMO of like EverQuest, and that was cool. And I have to say that I miss the early days of EverQuest when you didn't have, I don't know, 12-year-olds and angry old people.
Because early EverQuest was hardcore, man. Like you are like out of the games you named there, those are lifestyle games.
Yeah.
Civilization is not a game. It is a lifestyle. And same with EverQuest. OG EverQuest is a fantastic game. And actually, we don't have to go into it right here, but I will let you know there is a live server in a community, Easy Mode Unlocked, that currently runs an OG EverQuest server still. That you can jump in and play with their community, although I don't think anyone's playing in there right now, but it's there if you want to experience it.
No, I need a life.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, when I was playing EverQuest, I mean, it was basically a minimum of 8 hours a day for, I don't know, a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And I was trading sleep for a game. That was insane.
And go ahead, there, Stan.
No, that's it.
Well, I traded lots of sleep for a game, and it's called, you guys might know, it's called World of Warcraft.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. I'm not very proud of myself, actually, because if you think about how many 90s I have, 90s, and you think about what I've done and the accomplishments that I've gotten since I've started playing, I should be like an 80-year-old dude by now. I swear to God, that game came out, and it's only like it's only been 12 years. It officially came out on 2003, 2004, but it feels like it's been 20. It feels like I started playing when I was like 10. I really didn't. I mean, it was just Anyway, we have one more. We do have one more caller in. JC, that's what I'm gonna call you, Jeffrey. There. What are you thinking, man? What do you? I mean, I know you're. I don't remember exactly how old you are, but do you have any games that you started out when you started playing video games that you just really miss and really just fell in love with? That's how you fell in love with gaming?
Yeah, definitely. The Super Mario on the Super Nintendo.
Okay.
Ah, yes.
My wife, there's more in, and I'm sorry. With the Super Mario Brothers, of course, we have the Wii. I know. But my wife has fallen in love with the Mario Brothers, the original Mario Brothers on the Wii, and then Paper Mario.
Ah, yes.
Oh my God.
Paper Mario is awesome.
I'm gonna set a TV up in the living room just for them. Because I'm gonna put the Xbox in here, because I'm gonna be streaming with it, and then I'm gonna be doing the Wii just for them in there, because my son, and I'm telling you guys right now, anybody that wants to challenge my 3-year-old son in Wii Sports, he will beat your ass. That's all I got to say.
I believe it.
Okay?
Kids have an unfair advantage. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I've been playing the game since it started out just because we've had the Wii. And I'm bowling like a 260 on the bowling. This little dude, he's only 2.5. He's 3. He'll be 3 in June. He's bowled 6 300s. Come on. In a video
I don't think
game,
I've bowled 6 300s. I don't think I've bowled 300 on even video game bowling.
Yeah, I average maybe 150. On a good day, maybe a 200.
Well, I'm currently actually switching from. I mean, Yogi, you guys know I was bowling season and stuff. I'm actually currently switching from right-handed bowling to left-handed bowling because I screwed up my wrist. Anyway, let's keep going through this, Yogi, because like you said, we're not going to get anywhere if we have 5 people throwing everybody off.
Well, I just wanted to before we lose this thought. I love what Fred said about lifestyle games. This is something we've been saying a lot on the show. Is that there's certain games that are lifestyle games where they develop it in a manner where the developers must think that you only have one game in your life and you're loyal to that one game. And if you have commitment issues or things outside of gaming, it's hard to balance that out. And that's one thing I will say. A retro game is usually not a lifestyle game, though it could be addicting. So you have to have some kind of discipline, but it's not like you have to play it for long periods to get the full sense of satisfaction. So I think we should add to the record. I also want to say that JC, I think this is Catharidin, isn't it? Because he's the one that likes to put the weird pictures on Skype. And he's messing with my psyche right now.
Yes, it is. Because now here's a guy that works down the corner on the store in the corner says, "Thank you very much. Have a Slurpee. Get the hell out of my store."
Dude, it's like something straight out of a Bollywood film. It's terrible. And they all have the silly dancing.
If you really are Indian, I did not mean anything by that. I just thought about that, dude. That probably offended the shit out of him. I'm sorry. I didn't mean nothing like that, dude.
Wait,
Oh, yeah.
No, it's not Carthan. Okay.
It's not Cathar. Wait a minute. Is this the guy that trolled us last time?
Yes, it is.
Oh, bad.
The only reason I knew is because it was that guy that was holding that cup of coffee. This is our troll from last time. No penis jokes. Yeah, we're not going penis jokes today.
All right. Well, let's get it back on track. I know Fred has limited time, and I want to at least complete this discussion.
Oh no, I'm good. I'm here.
Cool, bro. Cool.
Sleep is for the dead.
Sleep's for the weak.
That's right.
I'm just playing with changing your Skype picture. Check that out. Yeah, there we go.
Nice. That's gonna be. Is that your official image for?
That is Pints pixelated Pints. Yeah, that's our photo for that. Now it's not our official logo. I have to design that still, but
yeah.
But we'll have fun with this for the time being. Anyway,
we are very familiar with placeholders in our work, so the only thing
this is what Mario and Donkey Kong do when you turn the cabinet off.
The backstory.
Not on my game. They didn't. They were sitting there going, "Your turn, Mario."
It was the 80s. Yeah.
No. Oh my goodness, I'm so stoned.
I love that this guy's got all the voices.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Obi.
Thanks, man.
That's the one, the spicy meatball.
No, you gotta talk like this. Oh my God, where's the princess? Oh. Here we
If
go.
I-
I'm good at everything but the plumbing.
Here we go.
You don't want me to do the high pitched voice because I already come in a little bit on the high end, so I can do it, but it might scare you.
He sounds like this in real life.
Wow, that's high.
You like that? I can do more for you if you want.
Oh, Jesus. We're
It'll
calling the
be
liquor
fun.
store from the house.
That makes me feel very dirty. So anyway, moving on.
Yes.
So we talked about a little bit about how old mechanics can still hold up well years later, and I think we need to beat that dead horse. I think there's the kind of thing we kind of could draw from what we've all talked about is that the games of yesteryear can still hold up well today, and you could recycle old mechanics, but ultimately it just has to be fun. Like, and a lot of times gamers say they want something new, and then they get it, and they're like, "This sucks." So it's like, sometimes I don't think we know what we want. You know, I personally love the innovation, and I love when people take risks, but it has to be fun. It's not going to be just good for the sake of, you know, because it's different. You know, I'm not that much of a hipster. I gotta say this is awesome because it's different, but then it's like not fun. You know.
Damn hippie.
Well, and I think to a certain extent, there's a responsibility that needs to be understood with retro gaming, which is that my experience is not your experience and vice versa. And so I've actually got an article coming out tomorrow, hopefully, if I can finish editing it. It's pretty lengthy on gaming history.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
I
don't know if I can
what's the me
fit
this
it in.
time.
And it's called wax nostalgic responsibly, and it's this concept that. Yeah, the concept of waxing nostalgic. But the article talks about the fact that just because you loved a game does not mean that it's justified in being the greatest game of all time. However, you can totally defend it and like it in your own right. But a perfect example of this that I've consistently used is my wife. You know, one day just to test something, I booted up the original Legend of Zelda. She never had. She's a gamer, so to speak. She likes playing along. She had a Super Nintendo, but she never had a Nintendo. She had never played a Zelda game. And I just said, go ahead and play. Just see what you do. And you know, the one thing she never did was she never walked in that cave in the very beginning to get the sword, right? Every one of us who have played The Legend of Zelda know to do that. She did not. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And she didn't think it was even a cave. And so, so in the meantime, she couldn't get anywhere. She was absolutely pissed. And so it's hard for her to know, to have that experience and then read that Game Informer considered it the best game of all time, right? And neither is right or wrong. It just means that, you know, you have to understand that Legend of Zelda is not really a fun game to play if you didn't play it growing up. And to a certain extent, the same can be said for a lot of games. My personal favorite game is the original Resident Evil. There are a lot of caveats going into that game. A ton of them.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, exactly. And so you can't just expect someone. Recently I've been playing through the original Metal Gear Solid. Who's going to argue that that's not a fantastic game? But you know what? That part where Meryl gets, do I even need to say spoilers on retro games? Like really old games?
Yeah, I think it's assumed.
Yeah, mild spoiler here. There's a scene where Meryl gets tagged by Sniper Wolf when you're crossing into the Sniper Wolf area, and you have to go back for a sniper rifle. And it was just that right combination, and games had this. It's right before disc 2 where you have to backtrack for the sniper rifle. And there's a lot of wolves in that area. There's a lot of mines. There's a lot of backtracking. And you just got to be very slow and meticulous like that whole game requires you to be. But if you played the game before and you know that that next part is just that sniper battle and then you're pretty much 2/3 of the way through the game, you know, you're just really like, I just need to get through this. And I found it very frustrating. And so, you know, people need to realize that this can be the greatest game of all time, and you can think it's the greatest game of all time, but you can't get mad at other people for not agreeing with you. And there are some games that don't need to be gone back to. A perfect example of that, in my opinion, is the original Deus Ex. For those that played it when it came out, It's fantastic. If you replay it, they've done a lot of texture packs. They've done a lot of modifications, especially if you can do keyboard and mouse. Fantastic game. But that does not mean that a large portion of people can go back to that game and go, oh, yeah, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I want. A game where I could beat it in 15 minutes, but it takes 27 hours because I've got to move extremely slow with archaic, undetectable game design. And it's all they had back then. And it's so forward thinking. And you wouldn't have Mass Effect without it. But having said that, that doesn't mean that you necessarily, there are those games that get stuck in that nebulous middle ground. And I'm one of those controversial people who feels that Final Fantasy VII is very much one of those games. And people are like, don't you dare talk bad about my Final Fantasy VII, And again, it's not that it's a bad game. It's just that you can totally understand why an individual today is not going to tolerate that game.
Right, right. And I think what I was speaking more to, like, that's definitely fair. Is more the graphics snobs, and I think we're way past the point where graphics matter anymore, because I think there's not going to be that much more innovation and technology improvement there for foreseeable future, unless you're really holding your breath for virtual reality. Now it comes back to the core, the essence of gaming, which is the core mechanics and the fun of the experience. But a few things with what you just said that I think are important to know is that there's a frame of reference that we have depending where we come from, what other games we've played, whether we've developed games that can appreciate it from a game design perspective. There's a lot of things that come into that. So yeah, it's not, you're talking about the nostalgic value of it. We remember it as being the best game that it was because we came into it at whatever age we were at as it came out. But going back to it's a little harsh. And that's part of that is because games today really hold your hand a lot, and we're also spoiled by social media. If we get stuck, there's easy places to get answers that didn't really exist before, other than magazines and the water cooler conversations of friends saying, "Hey, did you try this? Oh, I didn't know that." But I think that the most important thing there is that the frame of reference changes everything, because we already understood a lot of core mechanics. So going into games like that, we knew what to expect. We had that sense of exploration. And also, I think another thing that game developers should look at is creating more rewards for that challenge. So if the challenge is really high, you need to have a high level of rewards, and also kind of guide the player through the basics in the beginning without holding their hand. Like, don't just say press A to do this and press B to do that. Kind of guide them along the right way. Kind of like a Mega Man game does, or a Metroidvania game does, where you hit a wall and you're like, well, I obviously can't do this yet because this is too hard, and obviously what I'm doing is not working, so this is something I have to come back to later. Let me go the other way. Let me explore this area that I kind of skipped over. And it's a natural way to progress through the game. So that's something I think, I don't know, I just find that aspect so fascinating. You know what I mean?
Well, from that reference, if you haven't done it, and anyone out there who's listening, it is unfortunately only on PC right now, but I know it's coming to the PS4, and hopefully someday it'll come to Xbox One, because I also hate this whole console exclusivity crap. I really wish we could get beyond that. But Gone Home. Gone Home's a perfect example of that, where they seemingly give you an open home, but that is such a guided experience, and they do it without even letting you know. You totally think you're making your own decisions, and every person walked the same path. It's fantastic.
That's a brilliant way to handle it without feeling like you're insulting the player's intelligence, without forcing them through a tutorial, and without breaking the fourth wall, like making sure that, there's actually a sense of immersion. Because the moment the game calls onto itself and becomes self-aware, you're like, oh, Skynet's taking over. Let's get out of here. The robots are going to kill us all. I'm sorry. I had to add a little nerd.
No, it's okay. I got two quick questions for everybody, and then we're gonna get on to the next segment. But I want to make sure I talk to JC here a little bit, because so we can get somebody else in the call. But the first question to all of you, and Yogi and Fred, you get to answer last, because you guys are the most winded. The first one. The first question is your best, and give me one, guys. We don't need a whole long spew. Give me your best gaming memory. All right, Stan, what do you got for me?
It was actually a disaster in EverQuest. We So it turned into a 24-hour ordeal in which we were totally wiped out. I don't know, 100 people, and there was no greater guild with super high-level characters to come in and help us, and so we simply had to go back to resurrect. We had to clear some of the monsters, and I played a warrior, a troll warrior, and I think I lost 6 levels that night. 6 levels was equivalent to 3 months of work. Running in naked to attempt to kill super monsters with shitty gear.
And what about you, JC? You got a good gaming moment that you've had in the past? All right, Fred. How about you? When's your best gaming memory?
Well, best is a hard one, so I'm gonna keep this short and sweet and just say, you know what? It's a little bit more recent, and I know this is kind of all about nostalgia, but you know, I think every person remembers in each generation of like console cycles when they finally like realized, oh man, this is probably gonna be the next big thing. And for me, it was totally with, I know it sounds cliche, but with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1. And the reason it was significant for me was I was playing it through on veteran because everyone said that was the way to do it. And I remember spending some odd 20 hours just trying to grind my way through the single player of that. And then immediately afterwards, I jumped into the multiplayer and ended up playing like a robot for the next year of my life. And I remember going like, this is going to be the next big thing. Not Call of Duty specifically, but just this online interaction and social world where you get the complete package. And I think Call of Duty to this day has gone a far cry from it. But I just remember that, and just remembering that was so fantastic. And I have a bunch more, but they're all long-winded stories, so I won't get into them.
Yeah, Yogi. How about you? Give me your best gaming memory.
All right, so my best gaming memories. I'm gonna make it quick too. I'm not gonna bring up Panzer Dragoon Saga and Guardian Heroes because Fred already knows how I feel about those games. And even though the Sega Saturn, didn't get all the love it deserved, it had a lot of nice little gems in it. But anyway, that I would say these are not only my best gaming memories, but also defining moments in my gaming history. So number one was when I played Asteroids on my Atari 2600, and I went on a like 10-hour session and beat it several times over.
Nice.
There's an ending to Asteroids?
Yes. There's an ending where the score resets itself and then it gets harder and harder and harder.
It's like
Oh
it's
my
like
God.
it's like the ultimate levels on the levels. You know.
Yeah, I got to the point where the score could no longer go higher, so it went back to 0. Another great moment for me, two moments on NES were beating Final Fantasy the original, and then on Zelda finding out that you could burn this bush as a total fluke, and bombing a random wall and finding that was Ganon's lair. Total fluke.
Uh-huh.
I did not use any guide for that. I figured it out just by being a total troll and just laying down bombs and burning everything I could.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Well, if you guys,
Well, if you don't mind, there was one other one, and it's just a sentence, but the other pivotal one, because it was one of my favorite games before Resident Evil, was the first time I played Final Fight in a Dairy Queen. That was another one. There's nothing more to say about it, but the first time seeing Final Fight was fantastic for me.
Nice.
Man, well, since you kind of went into the kind of fighting game arena, I would say I had lots of fond memories playing Street Fighter 2 in the arcades, and people putting the quarters down and lining up to play against me, and me just cheesing the hell out of them with M. Bison doing the Psycho Crusher all day long. I was so
shouldn't have let Tournament Edition into arcades. Anyway,
I was such a troll in that game, head stomping and Psycho Crushing all day long. And when that didn't work, I switched to Guile.
Cheap ass. All right. Well, in the interest of moving forward,
yes,
because I know I dragged that one through. But anyway, thanks, Obi.
Now it's my turn, so you guys shut up. Thank you. Just kidding. One of my gaming, if you guys remember what I was telling you guys earlier, with WoW, I started in the beginning. The one moment that I loved since I've been playing was to be the first guild in in World of Warcraft to finish a raid. The first, world first. It was an AQ40. We were the world first to finish that raid, which is just, if anybody was in that guild, I love you just for being in that guild. If you helped us attempt that, that was awesome. We had so much fun. It was back when WoW started. You could only get to 60. If you finished this raid, you were the best of the best. That's where they're going. We got one more question here, or are we going right into it?
No, that's it. I think we covered all the basics. The next thing we're gonna ask was what got you started in gaming, like hardcore, and I think we kind of hinted upon that.
We did.
Kind of talking about the first games we kind of went into, and the games that really made us fall in love with games. But yeah, let's move on. But I will say, as far as a recent experience though, I did really enjoy the Mass Effect series, and I have fond memories with that. I know that's my cliche answer.
Well, we're getting on to the next segment. JC, thank you very much for stopping by for this horseplay. We really appreciate you calling in and being a part of the discussion as much as you did talk, but appreciate it. The next segment, guys. You ready for it, Yog?
Yep, go for it. Brace yourself, Fred.
Quickie. What do we got for a quickie here, Yogi?
So this is part 2 of solving the strategy puzzle. Last week in episode 20, we had Chip Sella from the B Team podcast and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cast talk about Marvel Puzzle Quest. So this, we were supposed to do a little Hearthstone talk to keep the whole Hearthstone spirit going. And just for everyone that's curious, why are we so obsessed with Hearthstone? Because it's the least common denominator right now. It's the one game we can all play together and stop bickering about which console is better, which platform is better, what game is better. For Pete's sake, everybody can play Hearthstone and it's free. There's no excuse. It's the game we can play together and have fun with. That's it. And it's fun. It's also an awesome game, so that helps. But, just to recap some of the stuff we discussed, we're kind of talking about what are some of the easiest classes to start with. And we said that Warlock and Priest usually easy ones to go with. Mage is pretty easy to play, but it's not very viable in constructed play. It's in the current meta, it gets stomped a lot. No matter how good you are building a deck, Mage is pretty hard. And I'd like to see what you guys feel on that. I know Fred has been playing too, so we'll get some more perspective on that. We also talked about how to compete without spending money, or whether it's a little bit of money or no money at all. But we do believe that you should tip the developers. And if you do spend money in the game, you should do it because you're enjoying it and you want them to keep developing it, not because there's a paywall. And I really feel, and I'm sticking to my guns here, I don't think there's a really crazy paywall in this game like there are in a lot of freemium games where it's like you can only progress and be competitive if you pay money. And I know Stan has his own qualms with that. I see what you did there. But this is the ongoing debate, and at GeekyAntics.net, you can see how Stan feels about it and how I feel about it. We keep going back and forth on the darn thing. But Obi, real quick, what are some of the classes you recommend? What do you find are the easiest ones, or the ones you have the highest success rate with?
Okay, and well, first of all, when you told me to look at this and actually kind of think about which ones are going to be good for starters, I actually asked the resident pro, which is of course Missy, and because if you guys know Missy, my wife plays lots of Hearthstone. She's playing every time we come outside. We go outside just to have even a cigarette together. She's on Hearthstone. I mean, playing it over rank. I mean, she got to like a rank 8 before the season ended, or before the reset, dude. I mean, she's freaking hauling ass. But I would suggest to those that actually just want to start playing, a hunter is really good for that immediate damage. It'll get you some cards down, get you some minions on the board really fast, and it can do lots of damage really fast. The only thing I wanted to say to those beginning players is make sure that you read the cards, guys. If you don't read the cards, you're basically screwing yourselves, because if I do it all the time, and Yogi laughs at me every second of every time that I do it. Okay, but it's to the point where if you don't read the cards exactly, you might buff up your guy, your actual character, or your buff up your cards, but the buff only lasts for one turn, or the turn you're on. So you guys need to really read your cards. A hunter is a good one. A druid is a really good one. A priest is a really good starter deck, and I would want to say, just depends on what kind of person you are. Those three are pretty good. Hunter being because you have an immense amount of damage if you're really, really fast. A druid or even a priest or even maybe even a paladin if you actually read the cards because of the healing aspect where you could stay alive a lot longer.
Well, druid, good call on that, because druid is gonna come up a lot more in constructed play because they have a new card coming out that clears the whole board of minions and then places two treants on your side of the board, and that's gonna be such a ultimate troll move. But Hunter, what's great about Hunter is that even though he's now not as viable, not everybody's running Hunter because the pros are running them. He's still one of the best classes to play because you get the aggressiveness, and it's also super cheap to build, like as in free if you do it right. But just some of the fundamentals, and we're gonna bring Fred into this. I want to see what his perspective is on this. But some of the fundamentals you got to kind of master, and I'm gonna put a emphasis on fundamentals. You can enjoy the game more rather than just kind of throwing things against the wall and see what sticks. One of the things you want to pay attention to is tracking lethal. A common mistake I see with people when I try to coach them through the game is that they have lethal, they can finish the game, but they're so focused on clearing the board that they miss the opportunity.
And
All right, so. Yep. So pay it, math, basic math skills. Make sure you get those up, and make sure you get, you take lethal when you can, and similarly, you gotta get a feel for when to trade on the board or go straight to the face. If there's a threat on the board that could get out of control, if you know that class, and the more you play, the more familiar you get with the different heroes, different classes you could play. You'll know, all right, he can heal he's doing a lot of heals, he's doing a lot of buffs. I may not want to leave any minions on the board so they get a higher priority. Or if you feel like you have things to mitigate damage or deal with minions later on, you might just go straight to the face and try to speed things up and be aggressive. So knowing when to trade, when to board clear, or go straight to the face, very important skill to develop, and that comes with experience. The order of attack, Obi, you mentioned this. Sometimes if you do things out of order, it backfires. So be wary of that. The order in which you play cards and do moves could change things completely. Also, the notion of control versus aggro or rushing. Some decks are focused more on control, manipulating the board, buffing cards, clearing the board, taking over minions, stuff like that. And some of them is just about getting as much damage out as fast as possible and making it overwhelming for your opponent to counter what you're doing. Forcing them to react to everything you do and controlling the tempo. Then spells versus mini. When you're deck building, you may not want a lot of spells. You may not want a lot of minis. Depends what you're trying to do, but you may want to commit to one side or the other and build around that core concept. But one more thing, we talked about legendaries and epics and how they kind of break the game. And again, I disagree. There's basic cards you get for free just by ranking up your characters, by playing the game, that could deal with legendaries and epics. It's difficult, but it's doable. Now, Fred.
Sure.
What has been your experience in a nutshell?
No problem. Well, and again, I think a lot of people think of me as a casual player for Hearthstone because I haven't played too much. But you have to understand, I got out of gaming from 1993 to 1997 to play a little game called Magic: The Gathering, and I actually was a hardcore tournament player. I got in with Magic at beta and got out around somewhere around the dark was when I quit, for those of you former Magic players. And Hearthstone holds a lot of very similar characteristics. I should also point out I've never played World of Warcraft. So going into it, that's the thing. I've heard a lot of people say, well, if you like World of Warcraft, you're totally going to get it. Well, I have no idea what these
Stop right
are.
there. Stop right there.
Okay.
It's not just World of Warcraft. It's Warcraft 1, 2, and 3. I just want to make that out note to everybody.
Yeah, and I've played Warcraft 1 and 2. So.
Okay, so you're familiar with the Warcraft universe, because I hate when people say, oh, this is World of Warcraft but with cards. No, it's a Warcraft universe expanded into a card game. The Warcraft universe goes back to the 90s, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, but Yogi, you got to understand that there are people who play. Most people who play Hearthstone weren't alive when Warcraft came out.
I know. I'm being a grumpy old man. I'm sorry.
I played.
No, you're good.
I'm 33 years old right now this year. Okay, in June. I played Warcraft. I started at age 9. There you go. That's how old it is, guys.
Dial up. Your mom would pick up the phone and ruin the whole match. Oh, it was horrible.
I was pissed.
But
that's why.
God, I remember those days.
Disabled waiting.
Mom, hang up the phone. Jesus Christ. Oh no.
Hey, I'm gonna die. Hey, all right, I'll be off in a
Yeah.
second. No, I'm gonna die, you stupid. Oh, you dumbass. What did you say to me? Nothing.
I
Get
had
off the
7
computer.
Cyclops heading to the base. What the? No. But yeah. With Hearthstone, I agree with a lot of the things you're saying, and I do think that I mean, for me, my biggest part is knowing kind of what actions to take and when to, because it's been my experience, especially with Magic and then now with Hearthstone, that if you can figure out the tactics and if you can get the tactics down, really any deck can beat any other deck. With the right circumstances. And again, that harkens back to the Magic days of what we call the white weenie deck, the idea that a bunch of common cards could take down the best tournament play and level cards. And I always play Hearthstone like that because to this moment, I've never spent any money, but I can understand where if I really want to get pretty competitive, I might not, or I might want to. Now, I will say I'm currently on win 8 in an arena run that's working out really well for me. So I've got 8 wins, 2 losses. So everything's high risk, but it's a pretty wicked hunter deck. And I will tell you that the changing of the cost of whatever that is called, the wild, which gets you all those beasts with instant charge.
Unleash
that
the Hounds.
going, yeah, Unleash the Hounds going from 2 to 3 does not change the dynamic of that deck one smidge.
It doesn't. They say it nerfed
Not
it.
at all.
The only thing that's changed in the meta is that now that the pros are playing that and everybody else is net decking and following suit, now people are creating counters just for the hunter decks.
Yeah, and I have some of those built in because when I play competitively, I have a deck of every single class type because I want to start to get to know them and the strengths of them. Yep. I personally find myself having the best luck with the Paladin and the Warlock, but I play in a kind of awkward play style. I think that's the one thing I got going for me is I play Hearthstone very much like people play chess. And I had a circumstance like that earlier today where the guy looked like he had the deck stacked against me, but he was, like you said, too focused on what was going on the board. And so in the meantime, I got just enough damage to take him out. Yeah, and that's one of those things. And I'm going into that turn, and it was a risky turn, right? Because if he thinks to take out my weakness, then he's good. Like there was a way he could have won that game. But I'm like, God, if he does not focus on that, this is checkmate. He can attack me with everything, and he's going to do 19 damage, and that is huge in Hearthstone. In one turn, 19 damage. And I had 24 life, so I even had 5 to spare on my plan. But just like chess, if you can't get there, I'm going to take you out. And he didn't even realize it. And he was focusing way too much on what was on the board and trying to take that stuff out. And so I think that's a very good tactic. And for me, that's why, kind of your advice of like, don't spend money right off the bat. Learn to win without the cards and then use the cards to strengthen that kind of killer instinct even further.
Yep.
And that's why I've done that. I'm not confident yet enough in that. And the arena is a great way to get you outside of your comfort zone. I'm trying to get good with almost every play style, although I've been playing around with a priest deck where you flip the script. There's a card for the priest that comes out, and I think it's a 3/5, and it every time you heal, it instead inflicts damage.
Oh yes.
And I've got a deck that I'm playing with right now that specifically is all about trying to get him on the board as fast as possible, and then and keeping everything alive or life-giving as best as possible, because suddenly your deck that keeps you afloat becomes the craziest burn deck you've ever had.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it mills you and you run out of cards.
Yeah, and people don't really know how to work with it right now. Like people don't know how to react to it, and I like that.
Yes.
Right?
Break the meta, man. Break the meta.
Yeah, well, because I said that's one of my biggest criticisms, and this happened with Magic the Gathering a lot too, is they'll publish the decks, and everybody will copy them. Do you know how many decks I see that were just recently on the Blizzard website as a suggested hunter deck or something? It's
Yep.
ridiculous. And so I learned first and foremost how to counter those decks, and I try not to do it with cards. Your best bet is to do it with play style. And again, if you do stuff that people aren't used to, they're not going to know how to react to you, and you can kind of play with their head. And again, that's sounding a lot more complicated than you think it is. It's just that you're setting them up so that if they play the basic style and the way their deck's supposed to play, if they stick to their deck, then they're not going to win because you can kind of overcome the combos they have and know what key cards to take out and whatnot. And so that's been a big part of it for me. But again, I haven't focused too much on playing, too hardcore one way or the other. But I'm really getting into that whole like awkward play style and throwing people off. And it reminds me of the old days of Scry magazine. If you guys were ever Magic the Gathering people, where there used to be puzzles where they'd throw you in a scenario where there's only one way you can win, but it's hard to figure it out. I think Hearthstone is perfect for stuff like that. And that's how I play. And I tend to have a pretty high risk, high reward game, which makes me not really good for upper level play. And I'm not there yet, but at least it gets me thinking. And again, the way I used to win Magic the Gathering tournaments was being the one guy who had the deck that no one was prepared for. And you want to bring something new, because if you do something templated, people are going to know how to deal with it. They know the weakness of that deck right off the bat. And so I'm trying to do that. And again, it comes with its cost, but it's just fascinating to me. Hearthstone's going to be huge. It is huge.
I love it. And I do recommend for newer players, Arena is the best way to play. It's better than buying the packs right up front, because if you could get 2 or 3 wins at least, it's more bang for your buck. But that said, it does level the playing field, but you do have to have some experience with deck building games, or at least play the game long enough to get the fundamentals so you can get the most out of the arena run. And 8 wins is really good. I mean, there's runs when I'm playing and I'm experimenting, and I'm lucky if I get 3 wins. 8 wins, and you could get a total of what, 10? That's really
I don't know.
good.
I've never gone 8. I didn't know you could go this long.
10 is the highest.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 is the highest. You get 10 different keys.
Ridiculous.
Dude, that's super impressive. So that's awesome.
I was tempted to jump into it right before the show, but I was like, no, I'm not going to jinx it. I'm going to come in with a fresh head, because now it's a really high stakes. But and again, the other 2 things that's very big is definitely, guys, the most basic skills. Watch for combos. They're written right into the cards. Like Yogi says, read the cards, and do not. The most dangerous player on the board is the one with the larger hand, and keep that in mind. Don't hold stuff, but don't be quick to drop your whole hand, because then you have run out of options for whatever they might do. I never like it when I've got less cards than my opponent.
Well, that's card draw is always a big thing, and having options for future turns. You got to plan ahead, like in chess. But another thing is that when you know your opponent, you know the different classes. Like for example, with a hunter and a mage, you may not want to fill up the whole board, because they could probably clear the whole board with like a flame strike or unleash the hound. So you got to be wary of that for sure. Stan,
I'm here.
Stan, what are some of your concerns and observations? Let's bring you into this conversation. I know you have a lot of bones to pick with the game. Now, we still got a good 17 minutes or so at least. So let's lay it on the table. Come on.
When I started playing the game, I was losing all the time. That's not fun.
See, but you gotta go into the game willing to lose and take your lumps right off the bat. That's one of the things that's really hard.
How many lumps?
Depends how big your head is.
I was losing. I remember I was losing, 1 out of 30 games. Maybe worse.
And you broke down.
Sucked.
You broke down the math, because you said if each game takes like 10 minutes and you're losing, 29 games and so many hours, and you need 3 wins to get 10 gold, it's a long grind. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, and that's bad game design according to Facebook, because you have to get people hooked within the first 2 hours of gameplay, and losing all those 20 hours is not a good way to design a game. No, I mean, I'm into the game now. I'm winning 1 out of 3. I only do ranked play, so it's hard. It's really hard. And yeah, people are creative. You know, the problem with bringing something new in terms of bringing that different deck, the problem with that is there's not enough cards. They need more cards.
Well, that's gonna be addressed with Curse of Naxxramas. The 30. It's gonna be 30 cards or so coming out. But
Well,
I'd
be
like to
careful
see-
with that mentality because Magic had the same problem for a long time.
yeah, and now Magic comes out with freaking releases every couple
Well,
of
yeah,
months.
that's out of control. But even like the simplest expansion, I think the first expansion was Arabian Nights that came out, and that changed the game so dynamically. And then I just remember everybody was like, "We need more cards." And
Mhm.
then Arabian Nights came out, and they were like, "Okay, this broke the game in every which way, shape, and form. We didn't
Yeah.
need this in here. Let's go back." I remember tournaments. People turned on the expansion. People were like, "No, we're doing only unlimited. That's the only, tournament we'll do." So, but
Yeah.
I do agree with you that there are a lot of cards from the onset, but it is already starting to get quite derivative on the high end play front.
Well, I think there's still a lot of things that people could do and experiment with. I'm still finding out new things that sometimes I'll play with a deck and something will just suddenly dawn on me and I say, hey, I could do this. And it'll be something that I haven't seen myself yet. Because I refuse to go net decking and see what the pros are playing and try to copy them. Maybe I might get some of the ideas from the, what for the core of the deck from them, and then I'll retool it to my play style. But yeah, if the meta gets stale, deck building games get very boring very quickly. You don't want to keep playing the same decks. I mean, there's another deck building game I play a lot. I mean, there's a lot of them I play, but Soulforge is a great game, and the company behind it is fantastic. And I've worked with them, and they promoted my streaming and all this stuff that I'm doing to promote them as well. And it's been a great collaboration. But that game, the meta on there got so stale, and they released new cards, and it did not fix it because people just ultimately kept running one of like 3 decks. So more cards definitely isn't a solution. I like what you said, Fred, about having structured play, where you can say, all right, no epics or no legendaries, or so different kind of conditions to compete with, different kind of tournaments where it forces people to think outside the box and not just use these pre-made decks.
Yeah, at the same time, the one thing I will give as advice is definitely, especially if you're new to it, look at those pre-made decks. Don't take them competitively, but assemble them, see what they're doing, play against the computer. The best plan is take something online and play against the expert players, the computer players. That's a good way to get practice and kind of see what those decks are trying to accomplish, and it gets your mind going so that you can make your own.
Yep. Practice mode is good. And with K.I.S.S and Naxxramas, they're adding more single player content that's gonna be great for training, because it's gonna be more like that scenario puzzle kind of thing you were talking about with Magic, where they put you into a situation, you have to figure out how to get out of it. But there might be more than one solution, and I think that's a really cool way of doing it. I actually in the Duels of the Planeswalker games for Magic, I've always loved the puzzles, the challenges they do, where it's like you're stuck in this seemingly impossible situation, and there's only really one solution. You have to figure out what it is. Really good training.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and that's the big thing with those. A lot of people were complaining at first. They were like, well, everyone's got the same cards, so then it's not very competitive. And I'm like, oh, really? I'll challenge you to any, with Magic, I've been playing for so long. I'm pretty confident. I'm not the best player out there by any means. But for most people who say that, I'm like, yeah, let's go toe to toe with the same deck. Because it comes blatantly down to a little bit of shuffle and 80% play style.
Yep. Hey, actually, since you're a big Magic player, you're probably much bigger than I am. I mean, I love Magic and I've been playing from the beginning too, but I never quite got that competitive because I felt like it started becoming a money grab. And I have some other complaints with it. Hearthstone is nowhere as bad with the monetization, but
Not yet.
well, at the pace they're going right now, it's a good pace. They're focusing on the core mechanics. But
The scariest thing I heard was Garnett Lee saying that if you want to play competitively with Hearthstone, you probably need to buy approximately 30 packs to begin with. And I started remembering that a box of Magic cards is 30 packs. And suddenly I was like, shit.
There are people that say you need to spend $50 on the game to really start being more competitive. But several interviews with Blizzard developers, they said that they're trying to make it accessible for people that play free to play, or as well as the people that actually invest money. So I want to trust them.
That's true.
So,
well, I mean, they're going to try their best, but at the end of the day, money talks. But I mean, in the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
regard, $50 is still half of the price you'll spend on a box of Magic, and you probably need 3 boxes of Magic to start up on a tournament level. So I mean, it's still cheaper.
Yeah, it is.
Any way you dice it.
Well, one of the things they're gonna do to monetize is they're gonna do like cosmetic things, of course, and they're gonna have the first mission, so to speak, the first branch of Curse of Next Ramus, a single player, will be free, and then you have to pay for the rest of the episodes. So I think that's fair. But just a fun fact: Brian Kibler, the dragon.
Mhm.
He's one of the guys behind Soulforge. So I just want to share that fun fact if you weren't aware. It's a game worth checking out if you haven't already. And that's for anyone listening in. You haven't checked it out yet, Fred?
No, I've heard good things, but again, time is always a factor.
Yeah.
And Hearthstone, I don't have an iOS device. Once this hits Android, it's going to be huge because I've got 3 of those devices, and so I think I'll be playing more. But at the end of the day, I still like a good old-fashioned single-player campaign style video game over Hearthstone. So
yeah, there's so many games vying for our attention. Hey, Obi.
Yes.
What do you think about the top tier players? The consensus amongst them that the priests are not viable in high level play. You said you like priests, right?
They're really not. I do like priest, but only for getting my coins. Just because people that are mostly doing coins, they really, most of all the good players are actually in ranked. And they don't use priest. I don't use priest in rank. My wife doesn't use priest in rank. It's just because there's so many things that a priest can do, but if you miss one card, you're dead. I don't care if you're at 30 and he's at 15. You miss one card or you mess up one time, damn near, you're dead. Because you're so squishy, you don't have anything. Unless you just stack up on minions and taunt cards and everything like that, you're not really going to do nothing. And if you're stacking up on all those taunt cards and minions and everything like that, guess what? You don't have any of your spell cards, your big healing, your divine shields, your smites, your anything, your board clearing, your board clearing abilities. You don't have anything, so you got to be really, really careful when you're creating a priest deck. You got to make sure that you have your taunts and you have those few minions that will keep you safe. But you want to make sure that you get most of your class cards because all your class cards, minus 1 or 2, it depends on your choice, are really, really effective and really, really good with each other and minions on the board. Just like a lot of hunter decks, if you have I think there's a card, I don't remember what it's called exactly, but if you have a minion or a beast on the board, instead of 3 damage, you do 5 damage. You get 2 of those. That's 10 damage. That's 30%. Of your damage from the get-go if you get both of them. It's a 4-gem card, 4-mana card, so you can do 10 damage in 2 turns. Just like what Fred said just a few minutes ago, 10 damage even is an amazing amount. That's a third of your health. So there's things.
Well, and if you went second, you can do that turn 3 and turn 4. That's even bigger.
Right. Well.
Yep.
Well, it's a 4-mana gem card. It's
right, but you'll have the extra mana gem card in your hand, so you can pump it level 3. You cast a beast level 1 or 2, and beasts are cheap. And then and then on the 3rd turn you drop the gem and you release the first one, and then you release the second one level 4. They're already down 10 plus whatever your beasts have been doing.
Yep.
You don't even have to pay attention to the board at that point. I mean, up until that point.
And that being said, that's when you can just sit there just like, haha, guess what? I'm just gonna sit here because I'm a priest. Now I have a 2 hit point heal every turn. Okay. I have my big heals like a druid would with 8 or whatever ability. And then if you have the buff cards to where you can buff yourself and heal yourself for over 10. If you have, even just a hunter, even a hunter hits you with those 2 burst cards like I was telling you, and you still peel yourself up, guess what? He might not have that anymore, but he's got so much more that will just burst you down. Against a lock is going to burst a priest down quicker than crap. Yes, wait, I know what you're going to say, though, Yogi. Unless that lock is stupid enough to take a freaking card every turn. And then basically that lock's just saying, hey, Mr. Priest or Mr. Paladin or Mr. whoever I'm playing, I'm just going to chunk away life out of I'm just going to cut myself every turn So then all you have to do at the end of the is just hit me with 10 damage and you win. So I mean, like I said, there's good
Yeah.
things and bad things about priests. If you could build the correct deck, and like I said before, read the cards, because with the priest you have to wait. You have to wait on certain cards to do certain things, or you're gonna screw yourself in the end and not have enough damage near the end of the game.
Yeah, well, I have to say, Priest I used to think was a joke until I figured out some things for him, and I love that people are not really playing him. But I've ran into a lot of priests in ranked. I'm surprised, but I will say this: my priest deck it has answers and threats pretty much every turn. It has card draw. The Auctioneer Northshire Cleric cycle is sick. And the thing about it, you could build a priest deck so it could be part aggro early game, and then late game it could be about every turn you're putting out threats and forcing the opponent to react, and you're controlling the tempo, and that's huge. When you put someone in a position where they have to react.
Right.
Now another thing, I know we gotta try to wrap this up so we get to our plugs and whatnot. But another thing that top tier players say is that taunts are kind of useless because you're sacrificing base stats for that taunt. But in certain situations where you could increase the stats of the taunt and protect key units like a cult master or a Northshire cleric or a auctioneer, there's a lot of things you could do with that taunt and buy yourself some time and regain tempo, shift the tide of the battle.
Right.
So we're gonna come back to this, but I do want to say that for our all games family,
I got something else first. Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
The reason I saw and because Hearthstone has live play damn near every day. If you go to Hearthstone, it's on the league, it's on the channel. But the reason that the pro players, and yes, pro players already, are not using priest decks, Yogi, is because they said in an interview here this past week is because they're too unreliable. They're not reliable enough, or they're not proficient enough to like you would have a hunter deck or a good beastie warrior deck. They're not proficient enough to that. They're either really, really good or really, really shitty. That's why they don't use them.
I think there's just a finesse to priests that people don't get. And if you make a mistake with a priest deck, you usually suffer. Whereas with a hunter deck or whatever people are running now, it's usually a little more forgiving. But anyway, moving on.
Well, actually, real quick, as a final statement, I also think that the bigger distinction is a hunter deck, you're in control of the next move, whereas a priest deck kind of almost anticipates a reaction. And so if they don't react the way you need them to, then the priest deck can suffer.
That's a fair assessment. We're gonna definitely come back to this, and Fred, maybe we could join us again in the near future so we keep the conversation going, because you're already making great strides and you've barely been playing the game compared to some of us. So
yeah,
we'll be. I'm a little scared to see where you'll be from a couple weeks from now. But
sit on Android.
Let's plug the ending,
no
man.
kidding. No kidding, man. So yeah, over at All Games, our extended family, Video Game Outsiders is doing. They're setting up a casual Hearthstone tournament. I'm gonna be going over there and signing up, and I hope everybody else does too, so we can just kind of do a Geeky Antics / Horseplay Live / All Games, crossover and do some Hearthstone. It's gonna be a very casual thing. Just go to the Video Game Outsiders forums. You could just Google Video Game Outsiders. You'll find it just easily. And it's gonna be interesting because there's people of all layers, all levels over there. And Michelle, I think she's a ringer. Michelle acts like she's not that good of a player, but from just talking with her a bit, she knows her stuff, and she's gonna be scary. And I think Matt Bradford might be coming up in the rankings as well. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, Obi, you take it away. Yeah, hello, Moto.
Hello, Moto. All
We're
right,
gonna keep that
guys.
going.
We want to get some plugs out of the way, just because I don't exactly know where they're at, but we're gonna get some plugs out of the way just because of the people that actually support us and actually just basically are 100 behind us 150%. Such as big shout outs to our flagship show over. Wow, I'm stupid. Big shout out to our new flagship show over at geekyantics.net, the Gaming Death Podcast. Dude, welcome to the gang. We really enjoy having you. Guys, they will be on Twitch over at twitch.tv at Gaming Death. Okay, I'm gonna put these links on there every Thursday around 9 p.m. Eastern time, right before our live show, so you guys can watch the Ad Gaming Death, and you guys can watch then right afterwards watch the Obi-Wan X2 or right here at HorsePLAY. We're super stoked about having Chris, Don, Caleb, and Hollow joining the game. Welcome, guys. We really appreciate you guys joining and giving, and I don't forgot what I was going to say actually, but HorsePLAY is on Stitcher. It's on Stitcher, guys. On Stitcher. HorsePLAY replays on allgames.com. I lost my spot. Every Thursday around 5 p.m. Eastern time. And be advised that the new show will be coming around 7. And then you guys can catch out Spider Venom, a.k.a. Fred Rojas, right there on B Team Podcast right at 9 p.m., which is right before HorsePLAY Live. So we want to make sure that you guys check it out. HorsePLAY is on Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, BlackBerry, Windows, Zoom, and iTunes. Leave us the reviews on favorite. Subscribe on TalkShoe, iTunes, and Stitcher, guys. The more comments and feedback we get back, the better we can be as a show, as a talk show, just because we love to do this and love to have fun. And love to get everybody, such as everybody listening right here, just get them engaged, just because you guys are awesome. You guys, don't forget to leave us a voicemail, 206-415-4987. Leave us a voicemail, or you can email us if you guys are shy. It's not a big deal. At Geeky, it's mail@geekyantics.net. If they're good, we'll play them and read them live right on here on HorsePLAY on Thursday nights. The guest for tonight, we really appreciate you, JC Stan Faryna, Spider Venom. You guys are still on here. Do you guys have any plugs you guys want to get out? Talk, of course, your shows and everything. Stan?
No, I got no shows now.
Shan, and I want to tell everybody, Stan is lonely. He's lonely. We want to get him, so lonely. Anyway, Spider Venom. Do you have anything you want to plug?
Sure. Yeah, sure. I've got a few shows. So obviously I do the B Team podcast every Thursday at 9 p.m. with 3 other great guys, Chip, who was on last week, as well as Chris and Ryan. And occasionally this guy Jeff joins us, but he hasn't been around in a while. Additionally, now I've got this new show, Pixelated Pints. Feel free to check us out at insert it there. Twitter.com, Facebook, whatever. It's all there. And we're going to be doing those Mondays at 10 p.m. That's a show mostly about drinking beer and talking about the industry. And then obviously Gaming History 101 is on allgames.com, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday night. And I should point out that while we do talk about games, we talk a lot more about like the culture of gaming as opposed to actual games. Although we do a monthly game club where we really get down to the nitty gritty. And that's it.
Mr.
Word.
Yogi, do you have any last thoughts or regrets?
No, absolutely no regrets other than I wish we could go longer. Wait, that sounds really bad. But anyway.
That's what she said. I wish we could go longer, baby.
I set myself up for that when I knew it.
But
I do want to say that. Go ahead, Obi. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I got a really dirty comment. You go.
Okay. But, I am very proud of our new, Geeky Antics YouTube channel. I finally decided to do it, even though I'm still pissed off with how Google restricts stuff so much and they make everything as backwards and it drives me nuts. But other than that, I know that that's where a lot of our listeners and viewers are. And so we got that there, and we're showing a lot of love to our fellow streamers and podcasters and whatnot. So geekyantics.net, we got some cool playlists there. We're doing the hashtag Retro Friday stuff there. I got some of Fred's stuff on there. I'm gonna rope in Stan to do more stuff with me. Some podcasting and some video. So he'll
Definitely.
stop. He'll leave his garden alone for a little while.
Well,
and help us build a new kind of garden, a gaming garden, a geeky garden.
Definitely.
What
You
about
guys-
the butterflies?
Guys, thanks for watching. This is Jesus Christ. This is HorsePLAY. Just remember, guys, Yogi Zilla's got a new show coming up, and Obi-Wan X2. We got a new show coming up too, and I might be inviting Stan a little bit more than often. But thanks for watching Horseplay. This is Obi-Wan X2, my cohort, partner in crime, Yogizilla, Spider Venom, Stan Faryna, JC, all visitors. Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.
Oops.